As Marvin mentioned, it is my honor and privilege to announce the recipient of the L&T Quinn Award this year. And we'll let him sit down there for a moment before we call him up, because I'd like to read just a couple of snippets from the nomination that was written by his co-workers and his colleagues across the state. 44 years Larry will have been with Sinnissippi Centers in February. Marvin said that's the year he graduated high school. It's about a month before I was conceived. So I hadn't thought about that fact until just today. And the two have no relation to each other. I just wanted to mention that. So enough about me. So here are some excerpts from the nomination. Larry began his career at Sinnissippi Centers in 1972 as a clinical psychologist, later serving as coordinator of community management in 1980, director of clinical services in 1981, the associate director of the organization in 1985, as vice president and chief clinical officer in 1989, and as senior vice president and chief administrative officer starting in 1999. Larry earned his BS in psychology from Loyola University in 1970 and his MS in psychology from Western University in 1974. When we were preparing this information, we actually had to go through his file and we couldn't find a copy of his master's degree. And so we worried for a minute that we'd employed him for a long time and he didn't really have a degree, but he has a copy on his wall, and so we're going to let him pass. Larry is one of the hardest working individuals I've ever had the privilege to work with. His work ethic, it really is just beyond compare. He can be found at the office on weekends. It comes in the morning before most of us get up out of bed. It amazed me when I started working with Sinnissippi a couple of years ago that he was there at 4:30, 5 o'clock, something like that in the morning. And and if he had to leave at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, he felt like that was still a short day because he was still around at 6 o'clock in the evening. I think a lot of that came from his background. Larry will often say that his father said, if you got air conditioning and heat, it's not really work. And so his air conditioning heated office really was an easy ride for him most of the time. Larry's innovation over the years has benefited not only Sinnissippi Centers, but other agencies. He helped us to design programming in our multiple residential sites, helped us to, I'm thinking we just had one full-time office when Larry started, helped us to open our other 4 full-time offices, helped to start what was, at the time, the first in the state intensive outpatient program for substance abuse treatment, and just a whole lot of other innovations. We also asked some of Larry's colleagues across the state to speak about him, because there's some folks that have worked with him in other agencies for a lot of years. And a couple quotes from some of those colleagues. As a colleague, I feel honored to have worked with Larry and very sad to see him go. His historical knowledge will be missed by all. He was the go-to person for those in his agency and outside. He is an expert and a great void will be felt upon his retirement. He has a wealth of knowledge that he has shared in our group meetings over the years, and he's helped to shape strategic responses to changes in crisis systems across the state. Larry's been involved intimately in his community as a longtime member of the Lions Club, served on the board of the Dixon Public Library, on multiple boards for those being served in residential settings who are mentally ill, and has just been a staunch advocate for behavioral health care across the state. Probably most importantly at this point, Larry's retirement is going to allow him to play a little bit more golf, I'm sure. To be able to, work around the garden a little bit more maybe. But what you will always know if you talk to Larry much is that the most important thing in the world is his family and his friends. Oops. And so Larry has always known that with a community behavioral health care agency like ours, family always comes first. He's always held his family in that regard. He's always challenged the rest of us to hold our families in the same regard. So I know that the most value for Larry will come out of getting to spend more time with these folks. So we have reluctantly accepted Larry's retirement coming up in February because we know that he's got some very important ways to spend his time. And with that, I'd like to have Larry come up and receive the
my honor to present Lawrence A. Prindaville with the Ellen-T. Quinn Memorial Award for Individual Achievement in recognition of his 44 years of outstanding service and commitment in the delivery of quality community behavioral health care in Illinois.
This is really a wonderful thing that you do for me. It's not the first award I won. I won Mr. Courtesy Award on Valentine's Day in 1956. But this is more important because I've had the honor, the privilege to work with prior recipients of this award, and while I won't ever pretend to think that my accomplishments are at a level of theirs, I do know that recognition of your peers is such a high compliment. What I have accomplished, some of it was hanging around because it was air conditioned and heat in this wintertime. Some of those accomplishments I merely participated with lots of wonderful, wonderful people who were ever more creative and innovative than me. As mentioned, I came and interviewed at Sinnissippi in December of 1971, just before Christmas, just 44 years ago, right about now. And those days there were 5 full-time staff, but I was interviewed by the full board of directors. There were 40 people. They spent 2.5 hours interviewing me. They went into executive session, called me back in, and the chairman of the board, Beth Tarvin, said to me, "Young man, we've decided we're going to take a chance on you. But we know you have a lot to learn, and if we're going to invest in your future, we want you to commit to staying here for a long time. Are you willing to make that commitment?" Well, I was pretty sure that the correct response was yes. So I said yes, but I added that I'll stay for a long time if Sinnissippi is a good place to work, and as long as I have the opportunities to learn new things. Well, I'll tell you all, Sinnissippi is a really good place to work. My colleagues are among the best in the world. And not only at Sinnissippi, but so many other places. One of the opportunities that I had was to travel to your agencies. Many of you invited me, and doggone it, I went. And I listened to you, and I saw what you did. I was certainly informed. I was impressed. I was influenced. I was inspired by what you had done. And I'll tell you the truth, every good idea I ever had, I brought back from you guys. And to the best of my ability, I tried to put into place at Sinnissippi some of the creative and innovative programs that you had. We adopted some of your successes, some of your solutions. I definitely learned that we together can do much better than we can do alone. But regardless of whatever kind of accomplishments I may have participated in, I think that the greatest accomplishments the true lifetime achievements are those of the thousands, the hundreds of thousands of people with debilitating effects of behavioral health diseases, disorders, dysfunctions, disabilities, dependencies. Those who are working their recovery program, and I know that within every individual lies an incredible capacity to recover. But recovery is hard work. And I think that individuals and families who continue to work their programs, who continue on a process of recovery, are far more deserving of recognition for their lifetime achievements. Confucius said, "Find a job that you love, and you'll never have to work a day the rest of your life." I say hogwash. I love my job. I've seen that you love your jobs, but our jobs are hard. You persevere despite the adversities with which you are faced on an ongoing basis. But recovery is hard too. Somewhere along the way, in these 44 years, I got old. Now, I didn't know when that happened, but I had a conversation with my 6-year-old granddaughter, Ella. And I said, "Ella, why are you so pretty and I'm so ugly?" And she said, with all seriousness, she said, "Grandpa, you're not ugly, you're just really old." And I thought that was affirmation enough, but shortly after, my grandson Carter said to me, "Grandpa, did you know that in the old days people couldn't take pictures with their phones?" I learned a lot of things in my career, but that's one of the things I didn't learn at the one-room country schoolhouse that I went to. We didn't have a telephone there, so it was sometime since then that I guess that happened. So I've lost my youth, but what I haven't lost is my passion for what we do. My compassion for so many people in need. My optimism that the sun will come up tomorrow. And my appreciation for all of you. I thank you, those who nominated me, those who supported the nomination, the CBHA board who selected me to receive this really distinguished award. I want to especially thank my wife, my kids, those who have lived with me for a long time and who have understood and accepted my deep commitment to behavioral health to Sinnissippi. I want to thank all of you for what you do. God bless you, and God bless all of them for whom you do what you do. Thank you.